Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Well, Panther City headed up north to the Loud House in Colorado to take on the Mammoth. Welcome everyone to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast. I'm Nicholas, joined by Andy.
Hello, hello.
And last week's home game against the Colorado Mammoth, how do I say this? It ended with both teams fighting for a playoff spot. It also ended with both teams literally fighting each other. And so coming from that game to be going against each other the next weekend, in Colorado, is set up for some interesting narratives going into this game.
Yeah, emotions were definitely running hot at the end of the game in Fort Worth, and just less than a week later, since it was a Friday game, those emotions continued to run hot, and we saw that right from the beginning.
I mean, yeah, it didn't take long. I mean, so the game starts, and 30 seconds in, I had it written down. Yeah, there was an early hit on Medeiros, and he was like slow to get up, and the next thing you know, there's a fight going on, and I'm like, dang, 30 seconds in, you guys couldn't last a full minute.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I'm not gonna say it was surprising, but it was still you thought maybe one or two guys might get into it, but it basically, I mean, we even saw Dylan Ward come out of the goal.
Oh yeah,
and start getting into.
Well, I will say this. I mean, that first penalty was just kind of like the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Our offense started playing a little bit good. I really did notice that first offensive set that we actually had without a penalty being interrupted in the middle of it. We were playing really good, got a lot of offensive rebounds and got a lot of good shots off. I mean, none of them went in, but it seemed like, hey, we could settle down, get the fighting out of the way right off the bat. But yeah, that, like you said, that didn't last very long. So there was, a few minutes, like not even a minute and a half more later. There's a hit on Burton. Gaucher finally gets in that fight you said that he almost got in last week. He finally got his fight in this week. But he was in there. Yeah, Ward gets in there, and penalties on both sides, including Ward from Colorado getting in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great. And Gaucher's a rookie, so it's kind of funny to see this like boy out there in a sense, but he was pretty heated and ready to mix it up with whoever came his way. Thankfully, there were a few more penalties on Colorado in that sequence.
Well, yeah, and it led to and this is something I kind of discovered that's obviously a little bit different from like a hockey situation or something like that with a penalty shot. But yeah, pretty much there had been too many penalties against Colorado within that short amount of time that it led to a penalty shot. And I mean, who can you have do a better penalty shot than Crawford? I mean, I'm not going to say he made it look easy, but I watched it and I was like, okay, he made it look easy.
yeah, it was very like they chose the right guy for sure.
Yeah, he knew exactly where to put it with that kind of goalie. But after that, things kind of slowed down a little bit, at least in the first quarter. Yeah, so obviously we went up 1-0 with Crawford's goal. Donville, I mean, he's having again, you can't say enough. He's having a really good rookie year, really making his case for rookie of the year. He gets another goal. But then, we actually let our emotions run too high a little bit, and then we got a penalty on us, which actually led to a goal from Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From just having that man down really hurt us. I think Zed Williams picked up a loose ball right next to the crease and just got it in there past Damude. So they got on the board.
Mm-hmm. They got on the board, and they kept the pressure on, especially that first quarter. So a couple more goals by Colorado. They were playing good, and we talked about last week. I was afraid that they were going to come out white hot. I mean, I didn't realize that they would come out fighting white hot, but they really wanted to put the pressure on Panther City, coming from last week's game, and just pretty much say, hey, we're back home, and this isn't Fort Worth, this isn't last week. We might be the same team with the people, but we're coming at this with a different attitude.
Absolutely. And one thing to note about their offense, one of their leaders from last season, Ryan Lee, I think he got injured during the playoffs. So he was actually playing in his first game this year, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to shake off the rust. He's probably not going to do a whole lot." He got his first goal of the season to tie it up in that first quarter, and it was sort of a sign of things to come, not just for him, but for Colorado as a whole.
Right. Well, and so yeah, we ended the first quarter down 3-2. I mean, I would say this, and we can talk about more maybe a little bit later. I really feel like Colorado's game plan was almost to get into Panther City's head right off the bat,
Right.
and just kind of shake him up to the point where yeah, you're not gonna. It's gonna take you a while to settle down and do the game plan that you'd plan to execute in this game.
Yeah, you could definitely tell they were a bit rattled. And hey, Colorado is the defending champs, so even though they might not have a great record, they certainly have that experience level to where they can mix it up and kind of get in the other team's head.
For sure. So then, we go into the second quarter, and and the second quarter was just kind of weird, I guess. The first half of it, there was a lot of action, just not a whole lot of goals to go with the action. I know they had a lot of good defensive stops. We had some good defensive stops as well. I mean, again, Daymud had been playing pretty good up to this point. I mean, but yeah, solid defenses pretty much from both ends, and then finally, we started kind of chipping away a little bit. I think it was a goal by Malcolm at that point that
Yeah,
helped us tie it up.
yeah.
But then it's like the same kind of story where we get up and we get close, and then Colorado just kind of takes control again, and it's like, what can we do to stop that?
Yeah, almost similar to the very first game in when we played Colorado in Panther City on that second half of back to back. There was just that we couldn't quite get over that hump to tie things up with them after we went down in the first. Credit to them. Ward played a great first half. Damien did have a solid first half as well, which allowed us to stay in it. Um, Honestly, the second quarter to me, watching it felt like it went by really fast, and I
Yeah,
think that's probably because in the first quarter there were so many penalties slowing the game down, and so the fact that the second quarter was overall penalty or sin bin free at least definitely made it seem to zoom by. And all things
right.
considered, there were only 3 goals scored total.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, two of them were Colorado, and only one of them was Panther City.
yeah, and that's what I mean. We kept it close in the sense of they didn't pull away like with a bunch of points. But at
Hmm.
the same point, they were still playing. I feel like they were playing a lot harder than they had been, especially the last game. But being at home can kind of do that for a team.
Hmm.
But yeah, so second quarter doesn't really go all the way we wanted to. We go into halftime down 5-3, and it's halftime. It's Tracy Kolesky, time to give them that speech at halftime to pull them back in, and we talk about it all the time. He does probably give some good halftime speeches in there, and so I think for this game, probably he had to tell everybody to calm down.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that they took his advice though, because the composer just seemed to. I don't know whether it's composure or just kind of absent-mindedness,
Hmm.
but yeah, there were a lot of early penalties that really hurt us because Colorado scored the first 3 goals of that of the second half. First off, I know Hutchinson got put in the penalty box for what was it, slashing, and
Hmm.
so right after that it seems like Ty Thompson got a goal right off the bat, and then Crawford actually got hit with a double minor, so he was in the penalty box 4 minutes total. And you think, okay, well, that really hurts us on offense just because of how vital he is on that side of the ball. Plus having one less defender too, so it's almost worse than losing a defender on a penalty when you lose a guy like Crawford.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the trouble that we had in the third quarter. We were for every positive play, we had some negative plays to go with it.
Right.
You can talk about Crawford getting in there and getting goals, and especially like even like Dodds. They talked about even when he played in Colorado or played against Colorado last year. Had a great night, and he had a good night this time as well. But it's like I don't want to say too little, too late, but in the third quarter when you're just kind of like trying to scratch back into contention and keep it close enough that you can come back, it's just hard to have those negatives against you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there that's not to say there weren't a few great moments in that quarter. Damute had one of his I
Yes,
guess he's had enough of them at this point to where we could call it. He had a trademark empty netter
right.
where, and it wasn't even there were still over 3.5 minutes left in the quarter, and Colorado tried to get a bit fancy and tricky with their play. So they pulled Ward out of the goal to go 6-on-5. But when that shot didn't go in to Panther City's goal, Damien scooped it right up and flung it all the way down. And you could literally see Ward reaching out his goalie stick trying to get the ball to no avail as it just bounced into the net.
I mean, you can take last year's play, Damude goal in Colorado, and just flip the field, and that's almost what happened
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
I mean,
basically.
the Ward's going after the goal to try to catch it in time, and yeah, no, I mean, honestly, they should just play in Colorado. Like Damude should just play in Colorado all the time. He'll just get goals every game,
hmm Yeah, yeah, it's that's seems to be his stick currently.
right?
But so yeah, yeah, that was a great goal. Dodds did have a great power play goal. After yeah, after there was a Colorado penalty,
Hmm.
but it seemed like for everything we did, Colorado could answer. And we ended the first quarter down 1 point, ended the second quarter down 2 points, and then ended the third down three. So as much as we were improving, there were still mental mistakes or just solid play on Colorado's end to where they
Right.
not only were able to keep us at bay, but actually managed to improve their lead.
That kind of leads us into the fourth quarter, where honestly, the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe even into the halfway point of the fourth quarter, I kind of felt like Colorado was really hitting their groove, really clicking together as a team, and honestly was looking to kind of put us away. I will say, thankfully, Panther City didn't go down without a fight. So yeah, the fourth quarter starts. We're kind of down again more. We're trying to get something to go our way, and then stuff like again, like you said, little highlights and little positives that kind of would hopefully get things started. Yeah, Tony Malcolm. I mean, he's the brother, but he can still get the spotlight. Got a good interception and a good goal in transition. So that was really good. Dodds getting in the score. Actually, I think Dodds scored a few times in that
Yeah,
last.
Dodds had a great quarter goal wise. Without him, we probably don't get back into the game. He did score one in the third, I believe,
Hmm.
but yeah, in the fourth, it's kind of funny. The commentators were like, "Oh, Dodds has been quiet," and then before you know it, he by the time he's done, he's scored 4 goals total, like all in the second half. So
Right.
he really, well, yeah, him and Damien should both play in Colorado.
Well, and not only that, but like so Dodds is scoring. I think there's a couple other ones. I think yeah, Crawford didn't he get? I think Crawford or Malcolm got another goal, right?
Crawford had an assist, and then Malcolm
Oh,
he
okay.
Wilden. I don't think Will scored in the fourth. There were a couple of transition goals. There was the one by Tony Malcolm, which I kind of dub it the
Yeah.
pick six, and then Medeiros even had one of his kind of one of his trademarks nowadays, where he's running up with the ball in transition,
Hmm.
fakes the pass, and catches the goalie off guard before shooting it in.
Well, and at that point when I'm watching this, because long story short, I had to watch it on my phone because the place we went to didn't have the right channel apparently. um, but yeah, at this point I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, hey, we're making this a game. We're getting it close.
Yeah,
We're kind of fighting back. There's still a few minutes left, and so yeah, we cut it down to what 13-12, I think, at some
yeah,
point.
back down to one.
And we're getting close, and it's like the same story we've run into multiple times this year. We get it so close and right there, and have that opportunity to try to tie it up, but we just can't close it out. and yeah, so unfortunately, Colorado gets another goal, um, and kind of puts us away with not much time left, and so we leave Colorado, unfortunately with a loss, 14-12, but it's just another game where, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to look at, but there's also a lot of bad stuff to look at.
Yeah, and this, for as much as this was a must win for Panther City, you could argue that it was a more of a must win for Colorado, because if they lose that game, they go two under 500. Instead, they're at 500, and thankfully, thanks to our win against them the week before, we're still above them in the standings. And even more so than that, we're lucky that Saskatchewan and Calgary had some upset losses of their own.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Saskatchewan a little bit later. But yeah, no, you know, b- both Panther City and Colorado were definitely wanting to stay, ahead in the game, but also just ahead in the standings to the point where they're still in contention.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado is very much still in contention. Panther City is still very much in contention. It sucks that we're fighting for that fourth spot right now. You wish that we could kind of bump up a little bit more, maybe be more comfortable and not have to worry about getting kicked out. But just being in contention, I think, is still a really good spot for Panther City in their second year. Well, of course, we talked about the game against Colorado, but it is that time to talk about Mr. Andrews' stats of the game. Mr. Andrew, I mean, maybe less fighting stats this week, but what are your stats you have for this week against Colorado?
Well, none of these are all that positive, unfortunately, but they are good learning and teaching moments for the team and for us as fans. Well, we've talked about face-offs all year long. The last game that was in Fort Worth, we actually won the face-offs against Colorado. That was not the case this time. We lost them. We only won 12 out of 30. I think Burton was taking the bulk of them, but regardless of who was taking them, it just seemed like Colorado had a bit more urgency right off the bat on each of them, and they even knew where to scoop it to their teammates and everything, and so that really helped out Colorado's. If they weren't scoring in transition, then they were at least having ample time to set up their offense, and that's however many less possessions for us. Things did even out a bit on the loose ball side of things, but for the most part, you don't want to lose face-offs by that big a deficit. Beyond that, it was kind of an off night for Nick Damude. He's had a great season so far, done really good things, but in this last game, he's only saved 35 of 49 shots on goal, which is in the low 70s, which, that you want your goalie to be around 80% or higher. And on the other side of the ball, credit to Dylan Ward, he was able to save 46 of 57 goals for shots on goal for an 80% save percentage. So it's kind of interesting looking at that, because as Nick, you mentioned earlier, we were getting quite a few shot opportunities, but they just weren't going in, and a big part of that was Ward's play in the net.
Oh yeah, and he, I mean, again, whenever you're home and you're at that home crowd and you have a little bit more pride in how you play, and you can definitely tell that with Ward. I mean, anytime they're home or they're playing at home, he usually plays extremely strong, and so. Yeah, thank you for that. Of course, that was Mr. Andrews' stats of the game. Well, we go from that to, not that we had a few, or not that we had a lot, I should say, but of course, this is our Cool Cat plays of the game. For me, there is only one, and the man cannot be denied in Colorado. He's a scoring machine. What can you say? I mean, all of his points, I think pretty much all of his points in the last 2 years have come in Colorado, so you can't hold him down when he's up there. But my plays of the game, or my play of the game, is of course Damude getting that goal. I mean,
Yeah.
he can't be denied. He was like, "Hey, you guys come at me, fine. I'm gonna answer back. I'm gonna get that goal." Which again, it's hilarious to watch. Well, not hilarious, but I mean it is, because you see him have that opportunity, and he obviously has a really good accuracy
Yeah.
with how he shoots with a goalie, with a goalie stick, pretty much, and because he's made long passes, 3/4 of the field and stuff like that with really good accuracy. So yeah, I mean, if your net's open and he has a chance, he's gonna do his best way, but the best thing he can and try to make a goal. And this time, he got that goal. So yes, that is my cool cat play of the game.
Well, I had two, and the first one does happen to be that Damute empty
Yeah,
netter.
there you go.
Just everything you said. Damute is so accurate. The goalie stick, it's really impressive. I know. Calgary's goalie Del Bianco, he's
Hmm.
having a MVP type year, but Damute in terms of his stick skills, I would venture to say he's not too far behind. Not only can he hit the transition and forwards with really precision passes, but he scores some precision goals too. And to be able to do that with enough power to where you can sling it past defenders, sling it past the opposing goalie when they're trying to run back in is really impressive. However, I couldn't choose just one because Tony Malcolm's pick six was pretty amazing to see in person. It was like a great safety or cornerback reading the offense correctly, basically making a great read, catching with his stick, and then running the length of the court for an easy goal. So I gotta give some love to the older, maybe the Malcolm brother doesn't get as many highlights as well. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, Tony did great.
I mean, again, for the minutes he's played, I think Tony's played pretty solid this year. I mean, he's obviously, you hate to say that he's playing in the shadow of his brother, but I mean, he kind of is
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. I mean, and to be fair, they do play different positions, so he's just naturally not going to get as many scoring opportunities. But man, when him and Medeiros do get those scoring opportunities and capitalize it, is a thing of beauty.
Oh yeah, and Medeiros has shown that multiple times this year. So,
Hmm.
yeah, of course, hats off to him. Well, that's our cool cat plays of the game, which of course brings us to our big cat players of the game. I'll let you go first. Who is your big cat player of this game?
I got to go with Patrick Dodds. Doddsy does really good in Colorado, so it seems. Scored 4 goals, again, all in the second half. So if you want to call them crunch time goals, that would be somewhat accurate because that along with Damude's empty netter really spearheaded the comeback in the fourth quarter. He was one of the few bright spots individually in the game, and yes, helped spur that fourth quarter rally. Loves playing the defending champs on the on the road. So yeah, I got to go with him.
Yeah, I mean it's the same for me too. Dodds, like you said, Colorado, he just feels comfortable up there. I think maybe it's that that altitude and
Right.
the different air and whatnot. But he's like, oh yeah, I'm back in Canada, but whatever. No, but
Hmm.
he played about as good as you can ask for in the second half, and that's really, like you said, that's really what kept us close and really kept us in the game. And honestly, almost brought us back to the point of tying it up. But uh, you know,
It was definitely nice to see them out of him because the people have talked about how his role has changed so much this year. Well, with just all the new offensive talent we have in Donville, Crawford, and Gaucher. So for him to kind of play off ball more, but still be able to have big nights is really key for us.
yeah, and I think going forward, he's definitely somebody who needs to be that key piece in the offense. Crawford has obviously taken a bigger role since he's been with the team, and gotten more comfortable with that offense. But if we're going to succeed, it's going to be players like Dodds, it's Will Malcolm, even Gaucher and Donville. They're going to need to be those key pieces as well.
Hmm.
Well, those that is of course our big cat players of the game. Um, Final thoughts on this game as we leave Colorado and come back home. Um, hmm. I guess my first thought again. I knew there was going to be a lot of emotion, and I guess I just didn't think it would affect us as much as it did. And it really did. Like I said earlier, I feel like it. Colorado's game plan was, hey, let's let's disrupt this as much as we can, because if we can do that, then they're playing behind. Then they're playing catch up, and that's honestly what happened. They knew where to hit us, and I know that sounds a little cliche, obviously, with the fighting in the first quarter, but yeah, they knew where to hit us right off the bat, and to make us, you know, not follow the game plan maybe according to what we wanted to do. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it really took us to the fourth quarter to kind of settle in and settle down. Because yeah, the other quarters were relatively close, especially that first one. But even then, you could tell the comfort level wasn't there. Well, with the fights right off the bat,
Hmm.
and just a lot of the mistakes and penalties throughout the game. So it I don't know whether it was the composure or the focus, but something always did seem to be missing throughout. And then the fourth one, we did start scoring goal after goal. Again, just ran out of time.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It was good to see us come back in the fourth quarter. Again, a narrative that we've talked about in the Philadelphia game and other games before, where we're able to like fight back into it and make it a close game. But again, we shouldn't be in that position to begin with.
Right.
And hopefully, coming back home in this next game, um, hopefully we can fix those mistakes. Well, unfortunately, Panther City and Colorado are neck and neck for that fourth spot. Like you said, we're currently ahead of them slightly, but we'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks, and hopefully we can maybe pull back ahead into it. Before we get into this week's game, I mean, as we're recording it today, a new story emerges from Panther City, who apparently has just gotten into the habit of, hey, let's see who we can trade and who we can get. Um, just today, like again, breaking news: Jake Fox, Jake Fox to the Albany Firewolves for a third round selection in the 2026 draft and a sixth round selection in the 2024 draft. So basically, Fox was there for 3 or 4 weeks, and again, you can never tell what exactly is happening behind the scenes, but you could tell he was kind of after the trade. There was a lot of hype behind him joining the team, but then Crawford came in and kind of like slowed that down, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think about this trade?
my suspicion is that this trade happening got completed before they knew that Callum Crawford would be available or wanting to play closer to Tulsa, because Fox, I believe he's another right-handed, another righty who kind of plays in that same spot shared by Crawford,
Hmm.
sometimes Caputo as well. And so in many ways it did seem like, they got Jake Fox. Okay, we've got a good offensive player that we can fit into the mix. Who's a tough guy, he can score a few goals. And then, Callum Crawford's available now too. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, we just got Fox, but we can't pass up this opportunity to get one of the best guys in league history. And so that, I think Fox was unfortunately the odd man out. And there, him and Phil Caputo are somewhat similar kind of players.
Hmm.
I think Caputo's familiarity with the team probably helped him. Plus, he's an assistant captain as well. And then you got to find minutes for Dodds and the other guys too. So I know Fox probably only played half of the games after we traded for him. So yeah, I guess management just kind of
Well,
wanted to see
yeah,
what they could get.
it's not only that, but again, planning for the future, but at the same time, like, okay, well, obviously, like you said, we didn't plan for all this, and we're hitting a good rotation with what we have, and it's hard to
Hmm.
just kind of get everybody the minutes that they need and get a good rotation with everybody that's involved. And so, yeah, there's always going to be a casualty, and unfortunately, in this case, the casualty is him leaving the team and
Hmm.
being traded. So. We wish nothing but good luck to Fox. I mean, obviously, you can't say anything bad about him. He's done great things, and you hate to see him kind of skipped around in 1 year like this. But
Right.
yeah, good luck to him in Albany. But yeah, breaking. I mean, that was just crazy. I was like, I texted you. I was like, just wow. Like, I know he's only been with the team for like a month, but still, you just didn't expect it like that.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was a guy who's been on the team all season. You're like, it'd be surprising, but just like, wait, I thought we just got this guy.
Right, right, exactly. So, again, good luck to Fox out there. But, well, we leave that game and the trade, from this week behind us, and we look forward to this week's game, this Saturday night back home against Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Rush, who are coming off of a loss to the Vancouver Warriors, who, again, are in a little bit of a mess. But Saskatchewan is ahead of us in the standings, but they're just barely ahead of us, especially off of that upset from the Vancouver. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of team we're getting coming into Fort Worth next week.
Yeah, and honestly, if it weren't for the difference in games played, we're practically neck and neck with them. But it is really important to grab this win for sure. They beat us. They beat us in Saskatchewan the first game,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. And I think we're both still kind of trying to settle into our identities as teams. Saskatchewan, they've got pretty solid defense. We're kind of I don't know that I would consider us a more defensive or no, actually, yeah. Yeah, based on some of the scores I see out east
Hmm.
and around the league. So it should be a pretty good even matched battle. Hopefully we can come out with that win though.
Yeah, I feel like this game is going to be a very good back and forth type of game. Panther City coming back home, they want to prove that going to Denver rattled us, but we can get back on our, for lack of better words, again, get back on our horse and kind of, ride it into a win. But yeah, I would say looking at this game, it almost feels like a must win for Panther City at home against a team who you're trying to get ahead on the standings. I feel like it does need to be a win game for them. Obviously, a win game for Rush as well. But I guess for me, I'm going to go ahead and say my predictions for this game. I'm going to go with a win, and I will
Okay.
say I was right about Colorado. Just saying.
That
But
is good.
I will say hopefully it's a win, and I would say like a 14-10. Close for most of it, but we start to pull away in the fourth quarter. What's your guess?
Okay, before I get to that, it is kind of
Oh,
funny that you mentioned that you predicted the Colorado win because yeah, I think at the beginning of the season, didn't I say I think this team's gonna go like 500, and
yeah.
here I am predicting wins every single week. So,
Right.
but yeah, I guess I'm just the glass half full kind of guy.
Right.
Anyway, I'm expecting a bit of a lower scoring affair as Nick Damey didn't play up to his standards, but Alex Bouquet actually had a pretty rough game versus Vancouver as well.
Hmm.
He saved only about 63% of the shots on goal he was faced with before he got pulled and subbed in with a backup. So both goalies will probably have a chip on their shoulder.
Hmm.
Overall, though, both teams know the sense of urgency. I think with the home court advantage, as well as the trade for Callum Crawford, who we did not have for the first game, I'd expect Panther City to come out on top 10-8.
10-8. So low scoring, good defensive battle, but okay, we'll see what happens. I mean, again, not our offense or their offense is very, high
Prolific.
powered, high scoring. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just that's not in their game plan, and that's not how they play. So yeah, I could definitely see that as well. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a game where we need to, kind of test ourselves even more. I think the power rankings. I read the power rankings today, and we're at like ninth in the power rankings across the NLL, and they brought up a good point. We've won games against lesser teams, and the ones that we've struggled with are teams that are either right on par with us or above us. And so this needs to be a game where we prove, hey, we're heading in the right direction and we're above that.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
speaking of this weekend's game, it is Texas Forever Night. There are some custom jerseys coming out this weekend. The very first custom jerseys, or themed jerseys, I should say, for Panther City. If you have not seen them, go get them. Not only that, but you can bid to get a custom or a game worn jersey. The link is all through the social media, through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just find the post on there through the Panther City webpage, and you can bid on there. Bidding goes until halftime of this game, so be sure to get your bids in before then. Do you have anybody you're going to try to get a hold of?
I'm actually trying to go for Medeiros, but I put my first bid in earlier this week or over the weekend, and I've since been outbid.
Yeah,
So
I checked today, and there's definitely some high bids going on, so it'll be hard to get one. But if you want one of those game worn jerseys, be sure to go online and put in your bid. I will say it's probably going to get pretty testy towards the end,
yeah,
right before halftime. But well, of course, we look forward to this game, and it's another home game, so we hope to see everybody out there. Thank you guys, as always, again for listening to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse podcast. I am once again Nicholas,
and I'm once again Andy.
and we'll see you guys this weekend. Have a good night, guys.
Cheers, y'all.